Hey guys, it's Paul from online Sax Academy, and in this week's lesson I'm going to give you 4 techniques that you can use to vary and embellish a melody. We're going to take the song Summertime by George Gershwin, which we learnt last week. Alright, let's get started. So last week we learnt the song Summertime by George Gershwin. If you haven't checked out that video, or you don't know that you're not that familiar with that song, you can check out my video above. And if you're new here, I release a video every week, so don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future lessons. So the first technique here is to change the rhythm. So no adding in extra notes here, just changing how we phrase these notes. What we're going to do is target certain notes, and they're not going to move. And then the notes that precede them, these are the ones we can start to play around with, and we can move them in all sorts of ways. Those move notes often create kind of rhythmical tension, so if you move them off the beat or you play them a bit slower or faster, and then as you release onto that targeted note, which is placed exactly where you want it, that's where you get the kind of musical energy from. Alright, so here's 4 examples, just taking that first phrase. Okay, the second technique is to repeat notes. This is often going to mean that you're including the first technique as well. You're obviously changing the rhythm, but now you're adding in this extra degree of freedom where you can repeat notes as well. This works really well on longer notes, so you can break up that long note into more of a rhythmic phrase. So just like the last phrase, we're going to be targeting certain notes and keeping them where they are, and that allows us to aim towards those, which helps keep the phrase hanging together properly. Of course, later on when you feel really confident with this, you can start to move those targeted notes as well, but I would definitely recommend starting with keeping those notes in a fixed position. So I'm going to give you 3 examples, and we're going to use the next phrase of the song. Alright, phrase 3, we're going to start to change some notes now. What we're going to do is just take one note from a phrase, or 2 notes maximum, and we're going to move them. Now this is where you want to really use your ears here. You can use some theory as well, but the best thing to do is just to experiment with higher or lower notes and see what it sounds like. If you keep your targeted notes the same, but move the other notes that lead into that, because you've still got the rhythm, or very similar rhythm, and you're not adding in or subtracting notes, it's still going to sound like the tune, but it's going to take the listener by surprise as this new note kind of catches their ear. So the 4th technique is where we're starting to embellish and add in extra notes. We're going to target the longer notes in the melody to do this, as it gives you a bit more space to add them in. Again, use your ears, and if you've got a bit of theory and improvisation knowledge as well, you can certainly use those scales and pentatonics to draw from. You can also just look back earlier in the tune and pick out other notes that have been in the tune, because this tune's very diatonic, and you can try them out and add them in on those longer areas. So I'll give you 3 examples now. Alright, so I'm going to put all these techniques together and give you a version of Summertime, adding in all these variations. Alright, that's it for this week, guys. I'd recommend trying some of these techniques out on some other songs as well. The best times to try all these techniques out on is when you're playing the melody by yourself. If you're doing like a unison bebop line, then you're going to want to keep it pretty uniform so that you stick together. So I would try this out on things like Autumn Leaves or All the Things You Are, that kind of thing. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to grab those PDFs and the backing track of Summertime to practice these techniques with, that's all linked in the description below. And I'll see you guys next week.